A unit that converts electrical DC into AC is an inverter. An airplane accelerates from 80 kT to 160 kT at a load factor equal to 1, the induced drag coefficient 1, and the induced drag coefficient 1 and the induced drag 2 alter with the following factors. The maximum ground distance during a glide with zero thrust increases in a tailwind at a constant airplane mass compared with zero wind.
If, in a two-dimensional incompressible and subsonic flow, the streamlines converge, the static pressure in the flow will decrease.
The angle between the airflow, relative wind, and the chord line of an aerofoil is angle of attack. Increasing dynamic pressure will have the following effect on the total drag of an airplane at speeds above the minimum drag speed. Total drag increases. Electrically powered ice protection devices on aircraft are used as anti-icing devices for pitot tubes, static ports, and windshield. The unit of measurement for weight is Newton. Minimum drag of an airplane in straight and level flight occurs at the maximum CL/CD ratio. A busbar is a distribution point for electrical power. In the case of a non-gravity feed fuel system, the electrical fuel pump would provide the pressure required for the fuel injector nozzles. Each cylinder in piston engine has 2 valves. Detonation can be caused by a variety of reasons and is normally recognized by increase in cylinder head temperature. A turbofan engine with an inlet air mass flow of 200 keys and a H compressor mass flow of 20 kgs has a bypass ratio of 9. In a piston engine, if the ratio of air to fuel is approximately 9:1, the mixture is rich. To achieve reverse thrust on a turbine engine with a high bypass ratio, it is necessary to deflect the fan thrust. The angle of attack where the lift coefficient decreases abruptly is known as the critical angle of attack. The turbine powers the following components: compressor blades. On a normally aspirated engine, the manifold pressure gauge always indicates a lower value than atmospheric pressure when the engine is running. With regard to gear pumps, pressure and scavenge pumps can be combined.
With regard to the snapper coupling, Wright Magneto is equipped with a snapper coupling.
Select the correct option. The inertia of a body does not change unless its mass changes. All aircraft electrical systems include a battery used to supply power to essential services in the event of generator failure. Pre-ignitions has the following effects: possible engine fire. The main purpose of a turbocharger is to maintain power with increasing altitude. Transformer rectifiers can generate direct current DC of higher or lower voltage. In a theoretical gas turbine cycle, combustion takes place at constant pressure. Slat extension will increase the critical angle of attack. The term used to describe a permanent and cumulative deformation of the turbine blades in a gas turbine engine is creep. Select the correct option. Mass means the amount of matter in a body. An oxygen supply system must be kept absolutely free of oil or greases. These substances catch fire spontaneously in the presence of oxygen. True airspeed TAS is lower than the indicated airspeed IAS at altitudes below sea level under ISA conditions. Magnetic chip detectors are fitted in the oil system to give early warning of contaminated oil filter. The frequency of the current provided by an alternator depends on its rotation speed. Vertex generators transfer energy from the free airflow into the boundary layer. Vapor locking is caused by vaporizing of fuel prior to the engine. When an airplane enters ground effect, the lift is increased and the drag is decreased. What will happen is ground effect, the induced angle of attack, and induced drag decrease. The type of hydroplaning that is most likely to occur at the touchdown area located at the beginning of the runway is called dynamic. The type of hydroplaning that is most likely to occur at the touchdown area located at the end of the runway is called Vicui. On a pressurized airplane, supplemental oxygen is used to provide passengers on board with oxygen following a cabin decompression. To fight a fire in an air-conditioned Class E cargo hold, the correct initial action is to shut off the ventilating airflow within the affected compartment. An impulse coupling does not function at such speeds above those encountered in starting. Its engaging pawls are prevented from operating at higher speeds by centrifugal force. For a given type of oil, the oil viscosity depends on the oil temperature. A hot start in a turbine engine can be best described as being a start which achieves light up, but the RPM does not increase to that of idle, with the EGT beginning at the starting limit, which is high for that idle, with the EGT beginning at the starting limit, which is high for that RPM. A hot start in a turbine engine can be best described as being a start which achieves light up, but the RPM does not increase to that of idle, with the EGT beginning at the starting limit, which is high for that idle, with the EGT beginning at the starting limit, which is high for that RPM. A slotted flap will increase the CLmax by increasing the camber of the airfoil and improving the boundary layer. Another answer for this question is increasing the camber of the airfoil and re-energizing the airflow. Aviation gasoline is different from motor vehicle fuel because it has a much higher resistance to detonation. Velocity is defined as speed and direction. Flap extension at constant IAS whilst maintaining straight and level flight will increase the maximum lift coefficient CLmax and the drag. Select both correct options to obtain the allocated Mark II methods used to reduce induced drag are washout wingtip design. An airplane using AC as primary power supply. The batteries are charged in-flight from a transformer rectifier unit. Lift is generated when the flow direction of a certain mass of air is changed.
Lift is generated when a certain mass of air is accelerated in its downwards.
The minimum requirements for supplemental oxygen to be supplied in pressurized airplanes during and following an emergency descent are that for pilots it shall be available for the entire flight time that the cabin pressure altitude exceeds a minimum of X feet. That minimum of X feet is 15,004. Thermal stress can be caused by overheating and overcooling. Static stability deals with the tendency of an object to return to its original position after a disturbance. Flat-rated jet engines are designed to provide constant maximum takeoff thrust up to a certain level of ambient temperature. The thermal efficiency of gas turbine engine will increase with A, decrease ambient air temperature. A constant speed drive CSD aims at ensuring that the electric generator produces a constant frequency. Calibrated airspeed CIS is obtained from indicated airspeed IAS by correcting for the position and instrument errors. One of the advantages of multiple spool jet engine designs is that a smaller air starter driving only a single spool can be used. The purpose of the spark plugs is to provide a break in the electrical circuit from the magneto. The working cycle of a four-stroke engine is induction, compression, power, exhaust. One of the advantages of a turbocharger is an increased propulsive efficiency. One reason to fit a tip shroud to a turbine blade is to increase turbine efficiency. If an abortive start hung start occurs when starting a gas turbine engine, the correct action is to shut down the engine. What is the most effective flap system? Fowler flap. The thermal efficiency of a piston engine is about 30s. The force required to change the motion of a body in a straight line into a curve is called the centripetal force. Fuses are designed to absorb excessive current, while maintaining the same true airspeed TAS with an increase in altitude. The indicated airspeed IAS will reduce. The induced drag increases as the lift coefficient increases. An increase in the lift coefficient of airfoil will increase induced drag 41 Vate windows. The type of aircraft oxygen system intended for use by passengers is mostly portable equipment, only a continuous flow system. Upward deflection of a trim tab in the longitudinal control results in the stick position stability remaining constant. Mist in the cabin, pressure and temperature drop characterize a rapid depressurization. A booster or LP compressor in a twin spool turbofan rotates at the same rotor speed as the fan. Current from an alternator or generator is delivered through a voltage regulator to a bus bar. An EGT exhaust gas temperature indicator for a piston engine is used to assist the pilot to set the correct mixture. The total amount of energy that a battery contains is known as the capacity and is expressed as ampere-hours. The capacity of a battery is given in ampere-hours. The capacity of a battery is the amount of ampere-hours that a fully charged battery can supply. Regarding wake turbulence, what is the ICAO minimum separation time for a light aircraft taking off behind a medium or heavy airplane from an intermediate part of the same runway? 3 minutes. In a slipping turn, nose pointing outwards compared with a coordinated TUM, the bank angle 1 and the ball or slip indicator 2 are respectively 1 too large, 2 displaced towards the low wing. In a skidding turn, nose pointing outwards compared with a coordinated TUM, the bank angle 1 and the ball or slip indicator 2 are respectively 1 too small, 2 displaced towards the high wing. In what way do 1. Induce drag and 2. Parasite drag alter with increasing speed in straight and level flight? 1. Decreases and 2. Increases and 2 increases. Select the most correct answer from the list. Aircraft fuel tanks should be checked for water before the first flight of the day. The function of a fusible plug is to protect the tire against explosion due to excessive temperature. The function of the pressure relief valve in the lubrication system is to control the pre-usher of the oil reservoir. The function of the air inlet is to present a relatively distortion-free high. The function of hydraulic selector valve is to deflect system pressure to either side of the piston. The function of ailerons is to rotate the airplane about the L longitudinal axis. The function of the Premer pump in a reciprocating engine is to provide additional fuel for engine start. Ohm's law states that the current flowing in a circuit is directly proportional to the applied voltage. Regarding Ohm's law, the current following in a circuit is directly proportional to the apt voltage. The octane rating is a measure of the fuel's resistance to detonation. The octane rating of a fuel characterizes the EU's resistance to detonation. A fuel control malfunction will most likely to result in a hung start. Low battery voltage will most likely to result in hot start. Static pressure acts in all directions. An electrical circuit usually consists of a power source, a load, a switch, a conductor. The wing ice protection system currently used for most large jet transport airplanes is a hot air system. One of the causes of high oil temperature in a gas turbine engine at constant power setting is malfunction of the heat exchanger. In the stator of a turbine, the gas velocity V and static pressure P vary as follows: velocity increases, pressure decreases. One of the functions of a gas turbine engine subsonic intake is to decrease airflow velocity. Fuel pumps submerged in the fuel tanks of a multi-engine aircraft are centrifugal low-pressure type pumps.
A passenger oxygen mask is a continuous flow mask and in principle should not be used if there is smoke in the cabin.
A passenger oxygen mask will supply a mixture of a cabin air and oxygen. The principle of airplane propulsion is to generate a propelling force by accelerating air or gas in order to obtain a reaction. For the capacity of a battery is given in ampere-hours. Static gas temperature decrease when flowing at a subsonic speed through a jet engine exhaust nozzle because exhaust nozzle is convergent. Which one of the following statements about Bernoulli's theorem is correct? The dynamic pressure increases as static pressure decreases. Regarding fire detection, ion detectors are used to detect smoke. In an airplane fitted with a constant frequency AC power supply, DC power is obtained from a transformer rectifier unit TRU. A slotted flap will increase the CL max by increasing the camber of the aerofoil and re-energizing the airflow. Compressor stall occurs when the angle of attack of the early compressor stages becomes too great. During an erect spin recovery, the ailerons are held in the neutral position. Which of the following statements about the spin is correct? During spin recovery, the ailerons should be kept in the neutral position. The type of windings commonly used in DC starter motors are series wound. For piston engines, mixture ratio is the ratio between the mass of fuel and mass of air entering the cylinder. The octane rating of a fuel characterizes the resistance to detonation. The power of a piston engine, which is measured by a friction brake, is brake horsepower. Pneumatic mechanical devices that provide ice protection are usually used as de-icing devices. A turbocharger system is normally driven by the exhaust system. Assuming no compressibility effects, induced drag at constant indicated airspeed is affected by airplane mass. One purpose of an accumulator in an hydraulic system is that store fluid under pressure. Waco turbulence should be taken into account when a much heavier airplane has landed just previously on the same runway, a light crosswind. What will happen in ground effect? The induced angle of attack and induced drag decrease. Which statement is correct conceiving the effect of the application of carburetor heat? The density of the air entering the carburetor is reduced, thus enriching the fuel-air mixture. One of the causes of high oil temperature in a gas turbine engine at constant power setting is malfunction of the heat exchanger. One of the avantages of annular combustion chamber is ever a multiple cane. The thermal load location distribution on the AP turbine is more favorable. About a twin spoof compressor, the low pressure spool runs at a lower RPM than the high pressure spool. Ignition occurs in each cylinder of a four-stroke engine TDC top dead center before TDC at each second crankshaft revolution. One reason to fit a tip shroud to a turbine blade is to increase turbine efficiency. An airplane performs a steady coordinated horizontal turn with 20 degrees of bank, and at 150 it has the same airplane with the same bank angle and speed, but at a lower mass will turn with the same bank angle and speed, but at a lower mass will turn with the same turn radius. Detonation must be overcome immediately by reducing the power, richening the mixture, and increasing. Regarding Ohm's law, the current in a circuit is directly proportional to voltage. What is the effect on induced drag of an increase in aspect ratio? Induced drag decreases because the effect of tip vortices decreases. When carrying out a battery condition check using the aircraft's voltmeter, A load should be applied to the battery in order to give a better indication of condition. Which one of the following factors would be most likely to increase the possibility of detonation occurring within a piston engine? High cylinder head temperature. The octane rating is a measure of the fuel's resistance to detonation.